These buttons in this Add Splash expander are for adding a splash of colour. This down here is default colour. So say I wanted a splash of colour inside this circle, I'd click Add Splash and click inside here. We now have the yellowy colour inside that circle. On the Sarah palette, we have this Add Splash section, and all these buttons do the same as the buttons on here. So I'm actually going to link up to the tutorial for the Add Splash section, these buttons from the Sarah palette, because it's a fully comprehensive tutorial, and you will generally use these ones. These ones on this Properties palette are just here for completion, because this is able to do everything, but generally when you're quickly adding stuff, you will be using this. The Properties is more for adopting the appearance. The color fill option for BAM is called Splash. So this area here deals with splashes. To demonstrate this, I'm going to add a couple of squiggles, and I make this one closed, and I'm going to make this one a semicircle. That will do. This color here is the default color for any splashes we're about to add. So I'm going to change this using the color window selector to something else. This kind of bluey color. And now if I click this button here, this will allow me to add a splash of color. I'll drop it in the middle of this circle. Now the circle has color. If I wanted to change that color, I can click back on the color, click on the splash, go to Appearance, drop down here, and this time we're going to make it a yellow, a green. We can move the splash around inside here, and if the splash comes out, so it's enclosed by this shape, if we move the splash out of this shape, then it will fill the rest of the area instead. And if we change this shape, if we change this squiggle's points around, the color will always go to fill the exact area. Obviously, if we change the shape outside the squiggle, then, yeah, because here the squiggle is, sorry, not squiggle, the splash is outside now. So I'm going to make it so it's included back in. If we wanted to fill this one, obviously it's not closed, so that makes things slightly harder. So I'm going to click to add another splash, and this time we have to make sure it's attached to one of these segments. So I'm going to add it into there. This means if we move the shape around, the splash goes with it, because it's attached to this segment. Whereas with this squiggle, if we move this squiggle around, where the splash is separate, if we go away from the splash, then it fills this whole area. Whereas this one, I'm going to move that back in. Oh, it actually disappeared. Don't know where that went. Whereas with this one, the splash is attached. I'm going to change this shape slightly. I'll press H to half this segment, and then I'm going to make this one. This segment gets gradient from here, and this segment gets gradient from here. And I'm going to add some lines by pressing L. Space L. If I wanted a splash of color on this side, I'm going to add a splash. Now before, we've chosen here, we've clicked here to choose the color. If we want to choose the color and add a splash in one movement, we can use this button. And that little black box in the top is supposed to represent the color wave window. So we can choose our color, then immediately add a splash. So we're going to go for bright pink, and now I'm going to drop it, attach it to this segment here. Now if I move this squiggle around, all its colors come with it. And I can delete them, take it out, and cross it off there. I'm sure you are dying to know what this button here does, so I will show you. I'm going to delete that and delete this wonky circle. Add some less wonky circles. I'm going to hold Control down whilst moving this to duplicate it. Now if we want to add multiple splashes, that's what this button does. So you can see here there's multiple areas we could fill with. So adding multiple splash, I'm going to go for green. Drop it in there. I'm going to go for pink or red. Drop it in here. And go for no, I like that one. Drop it in here. You can see where this is going. Now if you want to add multiple of the same colour, you can just move that a bit out of your way. Just choose our colour of... God, making decisions is so hard. That, and I can go drop, 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 and now I want to change colour again. I'm going to go to blue, and finally drop. So that was the add multi-splash option. The final thing I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to pause the video and draw something to demonstrate some random thing with splashes. So I've made what is supposed to be a water tank, and I've made these gates so you can open and close them as you wish. Now I'm going to add a splash of colour in the top, and I'm going to choose a kind of a watery colour. This is supposed to be water. So that's going to have to do because of time constraints, and I'm just not getting a satisfactory colour here. Okay, we'll do that. So now I'm dropping a splash of colour in the top, and it's contained in the top of the watercolour. But remember, it fills whatever shape the squiggle allows it to fill. So if I open this gate, there'll be a gap and it will pour through. And then if I open this one, there'll be a gap and it will pour through. Close it off, it stops. Let's add a different colour one in. Have some purple water. Now it's stuck here, it's getting through this gap, I can close that off. So now I can choose which colour the middle section gets colour from, which splash. And if I open both the gates, then the newest one will overwrite the oldest one. So the newest one was a purple colour, so that's filled everywhere. But underneath it all the time was that blue.